Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You have joined the Kinder to Year 6 Q&A session. My name is Nicola Martis and I'm the Associate Head of School here at St Michael's Grammar School with key responsibility in the kindergarten through to Year 6 area. I'm joined today by our directors from the Kinder through to Year 6. We have Mrs. Alexandra Fegan, who is our Director of Margaret Thomas House, our kindergarten. We have Mr. Tim Roberts, who's our Acting Director from Prep to Year 2 and also our Head of Positive Learning. And in Years 3 to 6, we have our Director, Miss Emma Phillips. Before we commence, I'll just go through a few housekeeping notes so that you understand the way the session can work. There is a Q&A feature here this morning, so at any time if you'd like to type in some questions, that would be wonderful. If the questions are not addressed during the session, as long as you haven't written it as an anonymous question, we'll attempt to get back to you via email. The session today is being recorded, and as a registrant you will be able to receive a link to the recording. If you do have any technical difficulties for whatever reason throughout the session, please outline this in the Q&A section, and then we'll assist to answer those questions or those difficulties as best we can. We do encourage you to download the information on things like transport fees and policies, as well as curriculum handbooks from our website, which is stmichaels.vic.edu.au. And while this open morning is in an online format, we are commencing with very small group tours. So these must be booked via our website. And we also strongly encourage you to refer to the online virtual tours because it will give you a sense of the facilities, the spaces here on campus. Look, I'm very proud to be a part of the St Michael's community. We pride ourselves on the relationships that we forge with our families and the holistic education that we provide. I can promise you that your child started our school, whether it's in the kindergarten or whether it's in the primary years, will see your children emerging as citizens who really have a very deep belief in themselves to be able to make a contribution within school and hopefully when they leave as citizens of the world. Our learning programs are really designed to focus on knowledge, dispositions, capabilities and skills. Indeed, our school values, dignity, respect, care and compassion are truly lived in every aspect of what we do. And by we, I mean our students, our teaching staff, our support staff, our entire community, in fact, has our core values at heart. And we aim to make decisions and live in accordance with these. When your child starts their preparatory year, we firmly believe in honouring the experiences and the foundational learning that they've had in the kindergarten years. Our unwavering belief is that children start primary schooling with enormous capacity, and they are really driven by deep desire and instinct to learn. And throughout the primary years, our aim is really to continue to nurture that very natural curiosity rather than squash it. They expect they'll be active participants in their learning. So we really want to try and nurture, develop and indeed extend on this natural curiosity. We know today and in the future, we need to really look at that notion of inquiry. And encourage our children to learn with, from and for the world. We value and we wish to continue the relationships we've forged, and by you attending today, we see that as a start of a positive relationship. Our programs, which will be outlined in greater detail by my colleagues, really focus on the multi-dimensional aspects of wellbeing and the core learning areas. We are ambitious for your children. We do have very high expectations and we therefore encourage them in the rigorous and rich experiences that challenge them in their academic, co-curricular, extracurricular programs that we offer. We do expect to see continuous growth in their learning with clear structures in place to really track that. Our sites are set really at the end of their schooling to prepare them for the world beyond school. That's ultimately the aim of any educational institution, that we can proudly release them into the world where they know that they've got a really extensive toolkit to draw upon. I think one of my favourite quotes is by Loris Malaguzzi, who's the founder of the Reggio Emilia project. And we are heavily influenced by the tenets of Reggio Emilia from the kindergarten through year 6. In essence, we believe that our relationship is very intertwined with your relationship with your children and their journey through school. And what Loris Malaguzzi says is that learning and teaching should not stand on opposite banks and just watch the river flow by. Instead, they should embark together on a journey down the water. Through an active reciprocal exchange, teaching can strengthen learning and how to learn. We do see your children as very competent, very capable, highly intelligent. It's our job to find out and seek their passions, their interests, their strengths, their lesser strengths. And really, it's that gathering of rich data, a whole source of range of sources, of data that helps us to be able to do that. We recognise children's right to an outstanding education, their right to their strengths, and their right to live up to their own aspirations. We do hope that you find the information session today just that, informative, and we look forward to continuing a relationship with you. I'm now going to hand over to Mrs. Alexandra Fegan, our Director of Margaret Thomas House, who will outline really the beginning of your journey here at St Michael Grammar School. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Nicole, and welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time this morning to join us on this Zoom journey, and we hope that throughout the morning lots of your questions will be answered. So as Nicole said, I'm the Director of Margaret Thomas House, our kindergarten, and we have 3- and 4-year-old kindergarten children here. We are an 84 place centre, so we are quite large. And as Nicole mentioned before, we are influenced by the Reggio Emilia educational project. So we see each child as being extremely strong, curious and capable. We leave the values, as Mrs. Terry Jones said, of Dr. CC within the kindergarten, and this language is used with them as soon as they walk through the doors. So we talk to them about dignity, respect, care and compassion. So within the Reggio Emilia educational project, as I said, we see the children as strong, curious and capable. We see that they are co-constructors of their knowledge, so they are going to learn best from their peers. It's our job as the educators in Margaret Thomas House, which is the name of our kindergarten, to really facilitate this by engaging in a lot of questioning and wondering, a lot of possibilities, a lot of what do you think? How do you think we could find that out? And as educators, we plan our learning environments accordingly. We really do see the environment as a third teacher. And hopefully when and if you're going to join us on a tour throughout our kindergarten, you will see this is very visible. We have a lot of natural materials, a lot of light and open spaces. And we respect that each child is going to be coming to our kindergarten with their own journey. So some children, it may be the first time that they are entering a more formal learning environment. For others, they may have been at childcare or with grandparents or different people. So beginning the year is extremely important for us, and relationships are at the core of all that we do. So building strong, trusting, respectful relationships between your families, your children and the educators is vitally important to us, because relationships sit at the heart of what we do. Within the Reggio Emilia educational project, we also use documentation as a tool for making the children's learning visible. And hopefully when you get the opportunity to wander through our spaces, you will see that the walls are telling a story. Documentation shows the children that we're respecting their thoughts and ideas, but also it's a tool used for teachers to plan for future possibilities, learning journeys, or projects and investigations. We have, your child will have a learning journey of their year in Margaret Thomas House. And this is a combination of pictures, words, photographs, and it is something that we present to the children at the end of their year with us. As I said before, we're an 84 place centre, so we have 2 groups of 3-year-old children and 2 groups of 4-year-old children. We also talk about having strengths and lesser strengths. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as Robbie, if we can go to the next slide, please. So you can see there the basic outline is our core program runs from 8:40 to 3:15. Each class has 2 teachers that are the consistent educators in the room during this time. We begin our day, as you can see a photograph there, of a morning meeting, and it's a really great way to set the tone for what is about to come and what happens throughout the day. We engage in brain gym with the children, so we do lots of cross-patterning exercises, songs, just to get them ready and focused for the beginning of the day. Of course, at the beginning of the year, it may last for 5 minutes, and just getting the children to sit down all together and engage in this morning meeting. By the end of it, they may be sitting there for 35 and 40 minutes discussing projects and investigations. As I said before, we see the children as having strengths. We use a strengths-based language. So the strengths that we focus on in Margaret Thomas House are the strengths of teamwork, friendship, kindness, and gratitude. And that language becomes embedded in our day-to-day interactions with the children. We also see the children having the strengths of honesty, bravery, perseverance, love of learning. And of course, your child is going to come to us with their own strengths, but they'll also come with some lesser strengths. And as educators, it is our job throughout the course of the year that we spend with them, because we're building those relationships, we really get to know what their strengths and lesser strengths are. Because as educators, we need to plan for both, and we need to ensure that your child is reaching those milestones that they need to be able to flourish, first of all, but also to be able to transition to the next phase of their learning very, very positively. Throughout the day, the children will spend time both indoors and outdoors, as we value both those learning environments immensely. We have brain food and lunch. The children also engage in a siesta. So it's a mindfulness time. It's learning about, okay, how we just need to recharge and relax our bodies as well. As you can see on the screen, our Margaret Thomas House children have specialist experiences in music, art, and PE movement. And in addition, this year, the 4-year-old children have begun specialist classes in Mandarin. We also visit the picture story room in the Gibson Commons, the kitchen garden, and because we are a K-12 campus, we are able to immerse ourselves in all of the spaces within St Michael's Grammar School. We often see the junior school and senior school children walking past our playground, and it's a really wonderful way that our children get to connect and to realise that they are part of a K-12 school. So thank you very much for listening. I am obviously here for questions if anyone has any more questions about Margaret Thomas House and where we begin. But I would like to now hand over to Mr. Tim Roberts, who is the Acting Director of Peter 2, who will take you through the next few slides. Thank you, Tim.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. And as Nicole explained in her introduction, I am the Director or Acting Director of the area preparatory to Year 2, and also I am Head of Positive Learning across the school. Welcome everybody, and I'd just like to speak to you a little bit about what we do in the area of Prep to Year 2. It's a very exciting time for the students, and we very much use this time to build relationships and friendships across the different year levels. As you can see in the picture there, Zoe is very excited about her learning, and this just sort of typifies what our students look like when they're immersed in their learning. As you can see, they're in their uniform, so that's a little bit of a change from Margaret Thomas House. They're actually wearing more of a formal uniform. Zoe is pictured there in our sports uniform, but of course, there is a day uniform that the students wear, which is a little bit different to Margaret Thomas House, but I suppose it kind of acts as a bit of a divide between Margaret Thomas House and the big school, as the students call it. So it's a bit of a different structure in Prep to 2 because we have more of a, I guess, dedicated time for literacy and numeracy and specialist classes. So it's a little bit different to Margaret Todd's house in that there are different sort of subjects taught, but we have a way of folding in our literacy and numeracy to all our other areas of learning. So in Prep to Year 2, the students build on their understanding of the fundamentals of literacy and numeracy, which they become very excited about. It's most gratifying to see them learn to recognise letters, to read, to write, to the point where they're actually writing stories. And this takes them forward into the other upper years of the school really well. So if I refer to the slide here, and Alex has made reference to a lot of what is on this slide, children are encouraged to explore, hypothesize, wonder, ask questions whilst using their many strengths. So we recognise the strengths in the students, and we also acknowledge that perhaps there are strengths that need to be a little bit more nurtured and scaffolded, but we encourage the students to use their inquiry, their curiosity in their learning. And we certainly see them as people who are capable. You know, gone are the days where you just provided students with, you know, worksheets and things like that. We are really trying to nurture a strong and curious attitude with the students, and we know that they're very capable. And it's really interesting to see where their learning takes them with this approach. And this leads me into the next point on the slide about the Reggio and Emilia approach that we've very much influenced by, or we adopt. And we really encourage the students to take the learning wherever it wants to take them, of course, with teacher guidance. And it's amazing to see the learning spilling out into our learning chapters, which are the spaces outside the classroom where a lot of the students take their learning. So if we move to the next point, the students really are encouraged to take on their learning through their passions. So what we try and do is we try and tap into their interests, and this in turn really gets them going in terms of what they want to know. And of course, they are just sponges, and they just continue to ask questions. Why? How? What happens next? What could we do now? These are the type of things that we see them asking us. And of course, Alex referred to the environment as the third teacher. And this is very important as we do a lot of exploratory type research in our areas around the school, and whether that takes us out of the classroom, into the kitchen garden, along the Coleman Walk. There are various venues around the school that we actually use for their learning. So it is an amazing time. It's a time of relationship building, friendship building, consolidating their fundamental literacy and numeracy skills, while really encouraging their knowledge, general knowledge, through transdisciplinary learning. And the students really enjoy working across all of those different disciplines. So with that said, I will hand back to Nicole and Emma.
Hi everybody, my name's Emma Phillips and I'm the Director of Years 3 to 6. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the structure of our day and our week, class numbers and connections across year levels, how we responded and continue to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, our Scholar program, which was how we continue to provide remote learning during 2020 and we're hoping not for 2021, and a little bit about our Navigator program. I also note that there was some questions being asked in the chat function, and I will address a couple of those as well. So there was a question specifically around transition for our new students, and a question before that about what are our entry points. So our entry points are naturally, of course, kindergarten, prep, and that upper primary coming in. Some parents decide to bring their children a little early before heading into the senior years. However, every year is an entry point at St Michael's. So we have systems and processes and expectations in place to support children coming in, not only at the start of any year, but of course at any point throughout the year. And right now we've got families who are expats who are returning to Australia from some time overseas and are in quarantine, or unfortunately are experiencing their flights being cancelled. And so we're expecting those children to perhaps start sometime in the weeks ahead. So what we do is establish, first of all, give them an experience day or an experience time. So coming in to spend the morning, and if they're more comfortable, perhaps even the day, just familiarising themselves with the environment, getting to meet and make connections with different people. And also, of course, meeting all of their teachers. And then when they arrive, they're allocated 2 buddies. And those 2 buddies are expected to ensure that their new friend always has someone to play with, or knows which clubs are on and which activities they're going to be participating in. And if someone's away, then their other buddy is there. Also to make sure that they're partnered up with someone in class. So, you know, when the teacher says, you know, let's get into partners and things like that, always making sure that they're included, that they have an opportunity to share their voice, that their questions can be answered, and also to reassure classroom teachers. So the classroom teacher can check in with those buddies and say, hey, how's our new friend going? And obviously we have encouraged a very open dialogue between classroom teachers and parents and families. So opportunities, formal opportunities to meet, such as our parent-teacher conversations, which are coming up very soon. And also, of course, communication via email, telephone calls, and through our school diary. So the structure of our day and our week, we start at 8:30 in the morning. And officially class starts at 8:30 in the morning. We have a 2-hour block in the morning, and that 2-hour block has been protected wherever possible to ensure that we can focus on literacy. Particularly in our early years, that's a 2-hour literacy block where we focus on the fundamental skills of spelling, reading, writing, and oral communication. And then we move into a half-hour recess time. And we've specifically made it a half-hour because what we found during when we returned from remote learning is the importance and the need for children to have opportunities for extended play, opportunities to have to navigate and negotiate and work through different social situations, make connections with a variety of people, and actually get into a sort of a level of flow around their imaginary games, their sports games, and etc. And of course, there are many staff out in the yard to facilitate those connections and games and facilitate a range of different activities. Then we have an hour's learning which is often timetabled as our numeracy program. Alternatively, our specialist program is also timetabled during that time. We have from 12:30 to 1:15 our lunchtime. And again, during that lunchtime, there will be a variety of clubs and a variety of extra and co-curricular activities on offer. And then we have from 1:15 through to 3:15 is our afternoon learning time. Before school and after school, we have our out-of-school care program, which we will speak about a little bit later on. And we also offer a variety of co-curricular and extracurricular activities that children can enrol in or invited to attend. So before school, things like swimming training, athletics training, cross-country training is on, and then bands, choirs, rehearsals, ensemble rehearsals, etc. And the same for after school. And after school, we also offer a range of programs, which we will speak about a little bit later. So class numbers and capacities, we tend to, in the early primary years, keep our classes to the high teens to ensure a higher adult to student ratio. And we also have a variety of learning services assistants and teachers who work with our children to facilitate small group learning and focused targeted learning experiences. Into our middle years and upper years, we will go to up to 22 or 23. Of course, seeking to maintain a gender balance because we are which we elect to be, and we choose deliberately and specifically to be a co-educational school, and as such seek to provide a balanced co-education learning environment for our children. So as I said, upper primary can go up to 23, and then these numbers can increase into the early secondary. Connections across year levels. Of course, as you know, children don't develop according necessarily to their biological age. So, and every child can have quite a disparate profile in their learning. So they might be, quite precocious in their learning in terms of numeracy and have a particular talent and strength and passion for numbers, problem solving, shapes, etc. But then perhaps not have quite the same level of passion and perhaps development in reading. The same goes for their social skills, their and interests and capabilities and attitudes across all areas of their learning and development. So it's really important that we offer them opportunities to interact with and share their experiences and find like minds with a variety of different ages. And so that's where our clubs and things come in that are fantastic. For example, Makerspace at lunchtimes and our book clubs and etc. An opportunity to work with like minds across all year levels. And also it's a wonderful opportunity for our children to develop mentoring and leadership skills with our younger students. We also specifically do plan for and provide learning programs that go across year levels. So for example, we have a year 1 and 2 STEM project that we work on that allows children to focus in on their passion and area of interest in relation to STEM, and then we group those children across the year levels. Our COVID-19 response, our COVID-19 response, as Mrs. Terry Jones alluded to and explained, was a particularly dynamic response. And as she outlined, we used a number of platforms to facilitate this program. It started off with a morning meeting with the opportunity for all of our students to connect with their classroom teachers via MS Teams, a check-in, a social check-in, a learning check-in and a wellbeing check-in. In the mornings, their learning program was outlined and all learning materials and multimedia provocations and resources were provided through our online learning platform, Scholl. And students were timetabled to have check-ins and meetings, direct instruction times, small group facilitated targeted learning workshops with both our classroom teachers, our specialist teachers and our learning services staff at particular allocated times across the day. And then we referred to that program as our Scholl program because it was facilitated through Scholl, and the AR stands for assisted remote learning. As well as that, we had our Navigator program, which Mrs. Terry Jones alluded to as well. The Navigators were our classroom teachers, supported again by our specialist staff and learning services teachers. Every single week, every single child received quite a lengthy check-in with their parents. So a meeting time was allocated, and this was facilitated through MS Teams, and parents and student and teacher got together and reflected on the students' learning goals, learning growth, areas of concern if there were any, and often that opportunity to answer questions, to find out more, and just ensure that relationship of trust, as Mrs. Alexandra Fegan spoke about before, really ensuring that nurturing that relationship of trust and understanding. And it was a really wonderful time for classroom teachers to see the children and the families, and also speak openly and praise about the wonderful work that was being completed across the week, and showcase some of the fantastic learning outcomes that were being achieved, and ensure that the child knew that they had an opportunity to share their learning, to ask questions, and for parents to check in, because we know that parents were incredibly, flat out, either supporting their child's learning or running their own businesses and working online themselves. So it was that chance to really pause and stop and go, hey, this is what's happening for my child. This is what we need more of, less of. This is what we need to be different. And I have to say that the Navigator program we're now seeing, when we saw the benefits of that across the year, of course, but we're really now reaping the benefits of that, of the levels of relationship and trust and understanding that exists across the school. We're certainly reaping the benefits of that in 2021. Thanks, Robbie. Okay, and back over to you, Mrs. Armatis.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Phillips. I'm just scrolling through, looking at a few questions that are coming up. One of the questions are if you're on a wait list for a place in year level in 2022, when should we expect to find out if we have a place? We'll get enrolments to address that question for you because they'll be in a better place to be able to answer that. But typically, in terms of enrolment, we progress students to enrolment 2 years prior to their start, but we do continue also to enrol right up to the point of entry. So it just depends on the movement of each on the movement in each year level cohort. But please reach out to the enrolments team, as I said before, if you've got any other questions around wait lists and things like that. Just in relation now to the classroom learning program, as you know, we are a co-educational school and we do seek to ensure a gender balance across all our year levels and classes. We do believe that essential collaboration skills, social emotional skills are developed between genders, across genders, and we believe in terms of catering for the individual need, we look at that point of need rather than looking at the gender need. As has been mentioned now a few times, we have an explicit focus on the teaching of literacy and numeracy. And with that, Emma mentioned in the mornings, particularly at Prep to 2, we have uninterrupted time for our Prep to Year 2 children because we believe that's when they're freshest. And that's where some of the fundamentals are explicitly taught. However, it's really important that we make those essential links for children with their learning, that numeracy is not seen as a subject that's a standalone that has no application. So we firmly believe in looking at a transdisciplinary approach. And so we do try and link that explicit teaching focus to our units of inquiry. We use the Victorian curriculum to guide our planning, but we do set our own standards and targets. We think that it's really important that we have high expectations of our children. In the kindergarten, we use the early years learning framework to also guide our planning and our preparation. Students, in terms of how we go about the pragmatics of catering for the various needs within a class, there are a variety of techniques and methods that we use to be able to target needs. Sometimes that might be that we're grouping children who have like strengths, and we address their strengths through targeted strategies that we use either in reading or in writing or in spelling or in numeracy or indeed at a skills level. But likewise, we also see a real need for students of different strengths to be able to work together, because the research does show very, very strongly that children also learn incredibly, a huge amount from one another. There is a strong adult to student ratio in our classes, as Emma alluded to before or stated before. And again, we pride ourselves on the fact that we're able to provide some of that more individualised support. Thanks, Robbie. I'll now hand over to Tim for the next slide.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicole. Yes, at St Michael's we have many specialist programs. And if I could start just with the physical education program to begin with. So in the early years, we very much work on fundamental motor skills, learning the fundamental motor skills so that the children can improve their coordination And of course, with the skills, that leads them into more traditional type games and sports activities. In the earlier years, we use modified games, but the progression is to more traditional type sports in the upper years of the school, so that they can actually compete in our inter-school program with other schools, obviously, in both summer and winter sports. Physical education, we're very lucky to have a school pool here. We've got a gymnasium that we utilise, and we've got, of course, the sports field here. So everything pretty much in the junior years is done on campus. So the main areas are ball skills, the gymnastics and swimming. And of course, as I mentioned before, it's all kind of dovetails into our sports program. Gymnastics is very much part of our specialist program. It's very much a part of our physical education program. We begin with the younger students just doing exploratory gymnastics type activities to more advanced, I guess, routines and what have you in the upper years. Our swimming is something that we have really put a lot of work and effort into, and we've had a lot of success with our early years swimming program. Our students swim all year round, and they begin in prep and they swim through a cycle. But they swim continuously all year, which is fantastic because it actually, you can really see the growth because we have that in place. The other year levels have swimming in their physical education program. We also have a swimming squad at year 3, which is where we try to really push the students into doing more sort of lap work activity and stroke development. And of course, we're trying to prime our swimmers up so that they can participate for our school in not only our house carnivals, but also represent the school in the South Yarra District Sports Association swimming. And ultimately, if they are good enough, they will progress through to regional and state, etc., etc. Our languages, we have a number of languages in the junior years currently being taught. We have French that begins in prep and runs through to year 6. We have Chinese in prep and year 1, and we have Japanese running through from year 2 to year 6. So we're actually sort of phasing in Chinese, but we're committed to our Japanese program as those students that commence that run through the school. Japanese at this point in time is an option for year 7, as well as Italian, French, and Italian, French, Japanese, and possibly Chinese down the track. Okay, Anam Cara Learning. Anam Cara Learning is our spiritual program. It's very much based on stories, and it's very much linked to our school values and ethics and morals in the community. It's very applied, so the students actually listen to the lessons and then apply these theories to their own life. It complements what we do as part of being a church school, in that we go to chapel and we go through the rituals of, you know, going to church and Eucharist and what have you. But Anam Cara Learning is sort of separate to that, and it's an extension of our sort of spiritual program. Thank you, Robbie. Oh, sorry, there's another slide. So with the music, we have instrumental music lessons that are taught from prep to year 6. So any student who is interested in learning a musical instrument is able to do this, and they're individually taught by our specialist music staff. And what happens is the students rotate out of their lessons so that they're not actually missing the same lesson all the time, which is a really good way to just make sure that they are not missing parts of the curriculum that they should in the classroom. We have a Year 3 focus on instrumental music, and this is where students get to choose, if they so wish, the instrument that they most like to play. So Year 3 is where we focus. Every student is choosing either flute or violin or something of that ilk, so that our program really ramps up there. Our performing arts program is an intensive program, and it runs for the whole year. And the students either select drama, band, or dance for the entire year. So it gives them a little bit of choice, and it really allows them to follow what they're passionate about in terms of their performing arts. Our art groups, we have art as part of our specialist program, but we also offer art groups at lunchtimes for students to actually take up that opportunity. If they're interested in art, then they can also do that during their breaks. But our art program is very much linked to what's going on in the classroom. Our specialist programs link with what's going on in transdisciplinary learning. So we can actually complement through our specialist program, particularly with the art, what's going on in the classroom. Literature and research is, every class goes to the Gibson Commons for this particular lesson. It is an opportunity for students to use the resources in the Gibson Commons to research for their transdisciplinary learning, but also the staff over there introduce them to different types of ways of researching, and we're very lucky to have that amazing facility over there to do that. Digital Technologies is it is a program that helps classroom staff to adopt and use digital technologies within the classroom for learning. Ms. Emma Phillips takes these lessons in conjunction with the classroom teachers, and it very much gives the opportunity for Emma to show her skills and to really guide the students and the staff in relation to adopting digital technologies and really using it to make sure that they're really enhancing their learning around technologies. Of course, there's digital citizenship and social media elements that are covered with all of that as well as being showing safety online. So thank you for that, and we'll move to the next slide.
Thank you, Tim. And yes, Tim explained the digital technology subject really well. So we call it digital discoveries because we want the children to have an opportunity to basically explore their world and their understandings and process their understandings and learnings through digital media. And that might be used as a communication tool. It might be used for problem solving, such as coding and programming. It might also be used to express and facilitate a showcasing of their learning and their processing of understandings of the world in a way that's really dynamic and a way that can be shared with the wider world. So we use technology as a tool. Every child in the prep to year 6 have an individual iPad that is school owned and school provided. And that way we manage the device and we can manage the apps that are being loaded and used by the students. And also we store them overnight at school and recharge them, etc. We have a range of robotics, and I have a lot of fun working with the children with Bluebots and Ozobots and Lego Technic and Lego Robotics, etc. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our co-curricular program. Exodus is run, it starts in year 3, where we have a overnight stay. The children, as part of their inquiry into sustainable environments and animal interactions with their environments, focus particularly on the African environments, and they, at the moment, spend the day out at Werribee Zoo, immersed in the learning that they've been part of for the whole term. They come back to and spend the night in one of our halls that have been set up as a big campsite for the night. It's also an opportunity for the children to showcase their learning in the afternoon, so the parents can come along and see their learning. And then they do African drumming and have a wonderful barbecue dinner, and it's all very exciting for them. And then this sort of develops and evolves quite specifically and deliberately for the age and stage and developmental requirements of the children. So that into year 4, we have 2 nights away down at Aireys Inlet, focusing on environmental sustainability. And the children are canoeing and bushwalking, and just having that experience of being away from their families, sharing their space with other children, and needing to work with staff and students in an unfamiliar environment, but one that's very safe and warm and inviting. We have a great cook down at the Aireys Inlet camping ground, and the children are actually in cabins, in bunks and things, so it's not too rough to begin with en-suites, if you don't mind. And then that evolves into year 5, where we go away up to Camp Jungai, and there's we have a tour of the hydroelectric power station there, which ties in with their study of energy, so they have an in-depth science exploration during that term. And also, you know, at the same time, we're also looking at Indigenous stories and understanding of our Indigenous people's connection to their land, and some workshops are completed around that as well. And we have 2 nights in cabins and a night in tents. And then year 6, we actually have 4 nights away, and we get to go up to the beautiful Marysville area, and we have a night in cabins, and then we head out in class groups, and we're in tents for 2 nights, and the children are responsible for cooking and preparing meals. It's always interesting to see the children for whom this is a very familiar activity, and something that they can step up to and really take control and demonstrate their culinary capacity, and other children who are not quite sure which end of the knife they're supposed to start using. And then I'm always very entertained by the children who look at the washing up dishes and say, oh, I don't do dishes. And we have to explain that we all do dishes on camp. So it's a wonderful opportunity for the children to find out actually what they're capable of. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, the children find out, hey, I can do this stuff. We do rock climbing. It's quite a physically challenging experience for some children, particularly those who haven't been camping before. But it's always an incredibly bonding experience as well. We come back on the last night and we have a talent show on the last night, which is just as entertaining for the staff as it is for the students. And we bring back your exhausted but very happy children at the end of the camp. And once they've had a good shower and a good nap, they will regale you with the tales of the things that went down on Year 6 Exodus. And of course, that's all preparing them for the Exodus program that continues to develop incrementally in challenge and independence into the senior years. Tim referred to the performing arts program that's run in Year 3 and in Year 5. In Year 6, we also have a whole year level works together to produce a stage production. In the past, this has actually been your traditional stage production. So, for example, something like, you know, Shrek or Alice in Wonderland, those sorts of things. Last year, we actually showcased a variety show. So for those of you who are a similar age as me, you'll remember Red Faces. So something similar along those lines, but not competitive. And the children put together and showcased their skills. So we had comedy routines, dances, small skits, monologues, creative displays, multimedia digital displays. And then we had hosts who sort of put those small items together, and it was all focused around the school's 125th birthday celebrations, and then that was broadcast out to the wider school community. We're hoping this year that we can have a live audience, but we're going to do a similar format to really showcase and enable the children to take the lead in this program, to and go through the whole process of production, so writing scripts, filming, making the advertisements and producing the flyers and the programs, etc. To the production nights, so the lighting and sound, etc. Which we have children from the senior years who have a particular interest and talent in those areas come and facilitate that with us as well. So we're hoping that that can be live this year for the whole school community. Tim spoke about the sport, competitive and recreational. We have the Year 5 and 6 inter-school sport program. In Year 4, we focus particularly on teaching them game skills, sportspersonship, tactics for team sports, as well as, of course, rules, etc. And then in Year 5 and 6, we actually have training after school on Wednesdays until 4:30 that's facilitated by both classroom teachers, particular staff staff who have a particular talent. So, for example, Mrs. Alexandra Fegan was a national netball player, and we've been fortunate enough for her to be one of our netball coaches. And we also bring in external coaches as well to facilitate that program. And then Friday afternoons, they head out to compete against other schools in our cluster of schools for inter-school sport. And the range of sports is extensive, and we have summer sports and winter sports. We have all the team sports you can think of: cricket, football, basketball, netball, volleyball, etc., softball. We also have a biathlon program, so children who choose to or want to focus particularly on increasing their own personal fitness and not necessarily compete in the team competitive sport, have the opportunity to participate as a team in the biathlon program. We have public speaking and debating. Last year, we actually worked together with a group of independent schools and ran an online debating competition for our Year 5 and 6 students. And Mrs. Armatis and I, Nicole and I facilitated that program with support from other staff during lunch times and after school. And we saw it as it's open, anyone is open to participate, but it's really that opportunity to extend and enrich thinking. Makerspace program, when I was head of digital learning for the school, we implemented in our Gibson Commons, which is a learning library hub, I guess, a makerspace program, and that is where we sort of see it as a bit of an R&D as well. So we'll bring in new technologies and let the children play and explore, and then they become the role models and the facilitators in the classroom. So they can come back into the classroom and say, hey, I'm an expert in this new digital technology, and can be the experts in the classroom to help support students and staff to learn how to best utilise the new digital technologies we're introducing. But it's also an opportunity for them to work side by side or directly with other children to solve a range of creative problem solving using a range of digital, but also manual and craft tools to create and explore and tinker. And that's open from prep to Year 6. We have Chess Club, which starts up and the children run those. And I think since the Queen's Gambit series, chess, I know a lot of children wouldn't have watched that, but a lot of parents are saying, hey, you should give chess a go. So chess is very popular and a fun way for children cross age to participate and play together. And we have some chess guns in Year 1 who like to play with our older children and quietly beat them. And art play, of course, is very, very popular, and you might be lucky enough for your child to bring home some giant installation that you get to put on your fridge or in your dining room table, of something that they've explored and created and had a lot of fun getting messy with craft materials with our art staff in the art studios at lunch times. Next slide, please. So the co-curricular program, I'm just making sure that, yes, I am allocated to speak about this. So we have different groups that the children can get involved in, because as Mrs. Nicole Marta spoke about, we are trying to excite, to provide the impetus, and to as well ensure that our children create the skills to take action. And they can take action maybe just in their own family home, to take action for their school or their class, their year level, their school, perhaps for their community, and certainly we hope for the wider world, around caring for our environmental needs and concerns. And that's about positive action that can be taken. It's about things that we can contribute. It's about being aware of the issues around us, but always with a mindset that we can work together to create viable solutions. And the same goes for our community action. So they're every year level from year 2 upwards, the students are encouraged to volunteer to be part of the community and environmental action groups, and they meet to take action. The environmental action group runs from year 2 through to year 12, and the same with our community action group, and we have leaders in year 6 who help facilitate those groups. And our community action group, as I said, is facilitated by student leaders, but also teachers, to take action again for our community, for our school community, our wider community and the world, around raising awareness and around raising funds to support programs, individuals and corporations that need our awareness, need our support. So for example, we might have a drive around bringing in toiletries to support programs who facilitate wellbeing for homeless people. It might be around raising awareness around an animal charity and work that can be done to facilitate and support others. Our Mad About program is an opportunity for children who are particularly obsessed with a particular, card or games or a particular toy or a particular topic, to come in and share their passion, to play either side by side or with others. And you'll know, you've sent your children to school or to kindergarten and they're desperate to take in their dinosaur, or they're desperate to take in their swap cards. And this is an opportunity in a closed sort of environment, controlled environment, where they can come in and share that without perhaps being out in the playground and things where misunderstandings and confusion and distress can be caused. This, we're saying to them, we love that you're passionate about that. That's fantastic. Bring that in and share that in our small group, where others can enjoy your passion and perhaps share your passion and interest. And then at other times, be outside playing with the children, facilitating perhaps and expanding your interests elsewhere. Thanks, Robbie.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Emma. I'm going to move fairly quickly now through the next few slides because I'm very mindful that we only have a few minutes left. Up on the screen there, you can see particular events that run throughout the year, special events. We have Book Week, where we celebrate literature. There's usually a parade and some engaging activities that the children will do within their classes. Sports days. We have cross-country carnivals, athletic carnivals, that's inter-school and intra-school. Our swimming carnivals, where, again, children will compete within their houses within school, and then we compete against other independent schools as well. Various soirees, musical soirees throughout the year that children can be a part of. And because we pride ourselves on the fact that we are a kinder through to year 12 school, there are sometimes whole school events that are celebrated. And an example would be Heart Week, that's running this week, where people are encouraged just to wear something red in celebration and honour of Heart Week. Robbie, we'll move to the next slide. Thank you. The extended tuition and out of school care program, I thought was important for us to go over. The extended tuition program is something that children can enrol in after school. And on the screen, you can see there's a whole range of classes, and they do change depending on some of the offerings that we're able to provide. During COVID, we unfortunately couldn't run our extended tuition program. However, as you can see, there's dancing, hip hop, basketball, skills programs, young engineers, swimming. We've got our swimming program that runs soccer skills, science programs, maybe robotics, a whole range of things. In terms of before and after school care, that is run by the school, by our school staff, and we're really proud of that. And now I think it's actually it's not an out of school provider. So the staff are very well known to the children, and that runs in the kindergarten and it runs for our prep to 6 students. For school care starts at 7:30 and at the end of the day it concludes at 6 p.m. So please do get on our website to find out more information about our before and after school care programs. We also run a holiday program. Miss Jill Garcia is our our director of the coordinator of the after school care program and the holiday program. And she offers an exceptional service. And like I said, very well known to the children at St Michael's Grammar School. I will get now Tim to quickly run through the uniform and then we'll hand on to Alex. And I think Alex will also just quickly address the question around preparing our children from Margaret Thomas House into the primary years. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you, Nicole. So as I mentioned before, Margaret Thomas House are free to wear civvies clothes to school. They wear protective aprons and what have you if they're doing anything that's a little bit messy or a little bit kind of dirty, which tends to happen in Margaret Thomas House because they're so curious. As you can see in the picture there, we have examples of our winter and summer uniform. So our formal uniform is our winter uniform, which is the blazer and tie. But in the summer, we wear an alternate uniform, which is much lighter and conducive to more kind of cooler feel for the students. So summer uniform is terms 1 and 4, and winter uniform is terms 2 and 3. Obviously, we have a school sports uniform, and they're all available at Bob Stewart and the second-hand uniform store. So I don't think there's much more that I need to say about that. So we'll just move to the next slide.
Thank you, Tim. We have a very, very strong parent community association here at St Michael's Grammar School, and it's a great way for you to become more connected to the school. So each year level has at least 2 parent community association reps who facilitate year level events as described by you on the screen. So coffee mornings, they have Father's Day lunches, they have Mother's Day things, they have they often organise things in the school holidays. If you are around, they might organise plays in the park for everybody to catch up and keep connected. So that's a really strong sense of values that we have through kindergarten to year 12. And as you can see, we have a lot of community events as well. So we really value your input into our school community. We will tap into your strengths as well, and if you're experts in any areas. So we have a great parent welcome reception hosted by Mrs. Terry Jones, the Twilight Music Festival, a community festival, as you can see, which is biennial, so it'll be next year in 2022. Many classes, when we can invite those parents back onto site, will be able to involve parent helpers. So from Margaret Thomas House, you might be invited as a resident expert to come in. We have parent helpers for our PE movement program, and then moving into prep, we invite parents to become literacy helpers within the school. But once again, if you have any strengths, passions or interests that you would like to share with us, we would really encourage you to do so. And as Mrs. Terry Jones mentioned, our generation program as well, tapping into the strengths, passions and interests of everyone currently in the St Michael's school community, but also old Michaelians as well, is a really integral part of who we are at St Michael's. So I just also wanted to touch on one question that was asked about how does Margaret Thomas House prepare my child for the transition to prep? Because we are all on the one campus, we are extremely fortunate that we are able to collaborate consistently with the prep teachers. Our children in our 4-year-old kindergarten classrooms are just across the chapter space from the prep classrooms, and the prep teachers begin to have incidental visits throughout the year to become familiar with and once again build those positive, trusting, respectful relationships with the children. Because our core program in Margaret Thomas House is 5 days a week, it's 8:40 to 3:15, the children are immersed in our way of being, as we said, the Reggio Emilia Educational Project, which we embed literacy and numeracy throughout everything we do each and every day. And as I said before, some of your children will show strengths in those areas, and we are able to, because of the quality and experience of the staff that are working in Margaret Thomas House, are able to extend and challenge your child once again, so they are ready to take that transition into prep. So I hope that I've answered your question a little bit more about how Margaret Thomas House supports children moving into prep. And one more thing I would just love to say is that our prep teachers often comment on how the Margaret Thomas House children come into their prep classrooms and how ready they are for that next step of their learning. And it's not just about what they've learned in Margaret Thomas House, but it's their ability to focus, to concentrate, to be those autonomous learners that really sets them apart and really sets them up for that future success. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Alex. I'm really mindful of the time. Just a final question that I will address. At the interview stage, when we meet you, when an interview is organised, we will speak to you about your child's strengths and lesser strengths. If there are any particular needs that your child has, we will discuss that at the interview time, and then we can advise on how we might support your child should they be a part of our school community. We've come to the conclusion of the session today. Just a reminder that the session was recorded, so you can watch this back if you need to, if you think like, oh, there was a lot of information. So we'll send a follow-up email for you to be able to click on that link. If your question wasn't answered, and I believe we did answer, I'm hoping we've addressed the answers or the questions today, but if we didn't get to answer your question and you have typed it in, not anonymously, we'll be able to email you the answer to that question. We do have some limited places available for 2022, and we're actively filling positions now for 2023. If you are interested in a place for 2022 and you haven't already made an application, please email enrolments@stmarkles.vic.edu.au before us applying to discuss availability. If you've got any questions about this year, please likewise do the same. And if you're interested in any other years of entry, I'd really encourage you to make an application by clicking the apply button on our webpage. Thank you so much for attending this morning. We're thrilled to have had the opportunity to talk to you more about our school. We're incredibly proud of what we do here, but we're also incredibly that we have some amazing children that we get to work with each and every day. We'll now conclude the event. Once again, thank you, and I hope you have a lovely day.